Nothing but blue skies. Sunny in the 60s at Soldier Field in Chicago, and very little wind. And this friendly reminder, on any kickoff or punt today, don't blink. You might miss something big. The return specialists that you'll see have been impressive, from Leon Washington to, of course, Devin Hester. They are game changers. Danielle Manning set to return. The Bears won the toss and elected to receive. So Alindo Mare will kick off for Seattle.
Chris, I don't know that I've been to a game where I've seen two teams that both had the return capabilities as these two. It's going to be a factor today.
And it was brought up in the pregame. The Bears don't like it when other teams have stats better than they do in the return. Underway. Manning from his own end zone lets it bounce and go through. So after all that, we'll start out at the 20-yard line. Jay Cutler comes in. His 230 passing yards, that's what he averages as a Bear, our best in Chicago history. And Matt Forte coming off a career day running the football against Carolina. The ground game, over 200 yards, the best in 2 decades for Chicago. And the offensive line, it's a work in progress. Chris Williams back in. He's at left guard. We'll look at how they line up throughout the day. It's been remodeled. 4th different starting lineup on the offensive line this year for Chicago. Matt Forte in the backfield on 1st and 10 from the 20. Forte carries. Picks up maybe a yard. As for the Seattle defense up front, Kentwan Bomber starts for Brandon Mebane, who did not make the trip because of a calf injury. Chris Clemens, the guy you have to watch on the pass rush. 4 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. Lofa Tatupu runs the defense from the middle. And in the secondary, Lawyer Malloy leading the team in tackles. He'll turn 37 years old next month. So a 2nd and 9. 4 wide receivers in now for Cutler. He has time. Cutler going deep, and Devin Hester brings a flag out from the official. Roy Lewis, the nickelback, was back there covering for Seattle.
Well, when the play took this long and Jay Cutler broke contain, that puts a lot of pressure on a DB, and it's likely Lewis got a little tag on Hester.
Number 34, defense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
And we're going to see here as he's trailing, and that ball's in the air a long time. Just got his hand in there a little early. That's a delicate timing. Had he timed it just a little bit later, he might have gotten away with it. But clearly as good as a catch now that they're inside the 25-yard line.
A 58-yard pickup on the penalty. Forte stays in. Cutler to throw on first down. Pass is complete to Forte inside the 10.
Forte is multi-dimensional, and he's been huge for the Bears. You talked about the big rushing game last week, but the fact that he is so much a part of their offense in terms of both running the ball and catching the ball. You can see right here, this is a challenge for the Seahawks. They have not scored in the first quarter of a game, and when you're on the road, that can be lethal.
And the Bears start fast. One of the top 5 teams when it comes to scoring in the opening quarter. So 1st and goal. That's Olsen, the tight end, in motion to the left side. Forte the carry. It'll be 2nd down goal. The whistle finally blows. Al Riveron, our referee today.
Well, this is a shuffled offensive line. Now, I want you to keep up with me, Chris, because this gets complicated. Right guard Garza has gone to left guard, but he's hurt now. And in order to do that, Frank Omiel's gone to right tackle. But because Garza's hurt, they've had to take Chris Williams, put him at left guard. When Garza comes back, they're going to leave him at the right guard because Omiel now is left tackle. Got all that?
Who's on first?
What?
No, he's the center. Actually, Oleg Krutz is the center, the one stable part on 2nd and goal. Let's see how that line does for Cutler. And the handoff to Forte, and he's going to be in for a touchdown.
Chicago could not have scripted a better start. This is the way, with the reshuffled line, you want to start the game. Running the ball in for a score. Offensive linemen love to run the ball. They've got to be feeling good about themselves right now, regardless of what position they line up in.
And that offensive line you talked about, Brian, did its job. And what a drive, as Robbie Gould will add the extra point and the opening drive. 4 plays.
Sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
A lightning fast start for the Bears after Forte punches it into the end zone. Seattle will get a chance, and that means Leon Washington, who has a bit of a rivalry going with Devin Hester, growing up in Florida in high school. They recognize their talent. Leon went to Florida State, Hester to Miami, and it's continued. He hopes to respond today. And again, the kickers as well aware of the return men as we are, and want to play keep away from the specialist who can score in a flash. Pete Carroll back in the NFL, and since he took over in January, 225 transactions, including this week where they acquired during the bye week Marshawn Lynch and traded away Deion Branch back to New England.
Well, he's going to find the combination he wants, and they better be drinking the Kool-Aid, because that's job one for Pete Carroll. You got to buy in.
And he has Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. Hasselbeck looks to throw and does. Low but caught at the 34-35 yard line is tight end John Carlson. And let's take a look at the lineup for Pete Carroll and his offense. Matt Hasselbeck coming in with 4 touchdown passes through the air in 4 games. He's run for a couple. And Marshawn Lynch starting and should get the workload as long as he can hold up. And on that offensive line, once a linchpin for Seattle, now another position, an area under repair. As the handoff goes to Lynch, and his first run as a Seahawk, and he gets a first down. Let's get a game break. Kurt Menefee will keep us updated all afternoon. Kurt?
Well, the Eagles trying to score as quickly as the Bears did in your game. End around to Deshaun Jackson. 31 yards later, it's good for 7. And the Eagles take their opening possession, march down the field, and have a touchdown lead over the Falcons, just like that. Chris and Brian.
Thanks, Kurt. He'll be keeping an eye on that Giant game, hosting the Lions, as you see the NFC East picture. As for the NFC West, Arizona idle today at 3-2. They lead the division, so the Seahawks would like to chalk up a W and move a little bit closer. Michael Robinson is in and quickly gets the snap. So the fullback running back, Michael Robinson, came in a Seattle version of the Wildcat on what was a first down play. Checking the Bears defense, Israel Adonijah leads the team in sacks. He had 3 last week in a win over Carolina. But watch where Julius Peppers is. Brian Ewu is in starting at linebacker for Lance Briggs, who's out with an ankle injury, and Tim Jennings good with run support from the corner spot on 3rd down.
Looks like got Chicago to jump off sides, or were they drawn off?
Ball start, number 77.
Wow.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still there.
Stacey Andrews guilty of the infraction.
Just what you want on the road against the Chicago Bears. Go from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6. But this is one of the challenges, and Seattle has really struggled on the road, Chris. It's well documented. This is one of those things that can kill you. It's not a particularly loud stadium right now, but you can't turn a 3rd and 1 into 3rd and 6 with a procedure penalty.
And that's when the Bears and Julius Peppers will light you up if you're not careful. Brandon Stokely in motion. He's the go-to guy here for Hasselbeck. But Matt looks the other way and completes to Mike Williams for a first down at the 46.5 or 45.5 yard line.
The offensive line here, obviously, with the Seattle Seahawks, the #1 battle right here, that young left tackle, Russell Okung. Now, they told us, well, he's got 10 good practices in, so he's ready to go against Julius Peppers. Well, it better be he and a whole bunch of friends, because this is a tall order for the young tackle from Oklahoma State.
A big first down catch by Mike Williams. Hasselbeck looks to throw, wants to go deep. Down the sideline for Williams again, and he has it. Did he keep his feet in? Yes. And Mike Williams out of football for a couple of years. Quietly returning to the NFL, came in with 11 catches for Seattle.
This you can see out here, Williams kind of being reacclimated here in Seattle. Does a nice job with that size. They're going to a no huddle trying to catch the Bears off guard.
Forsett is in the backfield. Hasselback for the end zone, and for Dion Butler. Did he hang on? Touchdown Seattle. So the hurry up from Matt Hasselback, wanting to go deep, and connects with Butler, who moved into the starting lineup when Deion Branch was traded.
And Butler here, it's going to be interesting to see. He stayed in bounds. I thought he might have gone out of bounds. You love to take verticals down at this part of the field. They went with no huddle to catch Chicago off guard.
And they're going to try and hurry and kick the extra point, so there's no review. And I guess the official waiting to make sure the process was completed. You've seen that if you're a Bears fan. So points on the board. Seattle scores for the first time in the first quarter this year. We're tied at 7 in Chicago.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Back here at Soldier Field in Chicago. And Dion Butler hauling in the touchdown pass. First points by Seattle in the opening quarter of this season, and trying to win their first road game. Responding to Chicago's opening drive. It's not windy at all. That was just probably a poor placement of the football.
And Chris, I'm always talking about the emotional response a team can have, particularly on the road. What a great response by Seattle. They go from a 3rd and 1 to a 3rd and 6. They convert it, get a play down the field, and then come up with the big play in the end zone. Great emotional response on the road. No
NFC West team this year traveling outside the division has won an 0-8 record. Seahawks hope to change that. Alinda Mare last time pinned him in the end zone. It is Manning who will be pinned again because he couldn't hold on to the football. So Chicago, where they started last time, from the 20, but Cutler marched him 80 yards for a touchdown. Let's see what they can do here.
Today's game is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. By Lowe's. Lowe's, let's build something together. And by Pizza Hut. Your favorite plays deserve your favorite pizza. Your favorites, your Pizza Hut.
After the Bears game here with the Seahawks, the NFL Sunday doubleheader continues with America's game of the week, the Cowboys and the Vikings. Both teams at 1-3. It almost takes on more meaning because where does the loser go? Randy Moss teaming up with Brett Favre. Randy has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys in his career. It's really a triple header. The NLCS, Phillies and Giants follows that. A big day on Fox Sports. 1st and 10 for Cutler. The pass tipped and incomplete.
Chris, let's go back to the touchdown. This is just the classic 4 verts versus cover 2. Here you can see the safeties. We're going to go vertical on the outside, and I want you to watch what happens to the safety. This really makes it tough on the corner. Right here, stop. He makes the decision. He's going into the tight end. That corner thinks he's getting help over the top, and Dion Butler gets his score.
Talk about balance so far. 3 runs, 3 pass attempts. The big penalty is what set up Chicago the last time. As Forte carries, it'll be 3rd down and long.
And both teams told us they're going to do a lot of shifting and motioning, Chris. Chicago, what they're trying to do is slow down the presence of Lawyer Malloy. Watch number 36 for Seattle. He can tell you what the defense is on almost every snap. He comes down into the proverbial box, and they're going to move their formations around to make it difficult for him to pressure.
4-time Pro Bowler, Lawyer Malloy, a passing situation, so 4 wide receivers are in with Matt Forte on 3rd down. Pass is overthrown, and well, there was a chance to be intercepted. Marcus Trufant was back there covering, and good pressure on Jay Cutler, who told us he had the best week of practice with this Bears team, and there were no side effects, remaining effects from that concussion 2 weeks ago.
And at the end, you know, you open up these edges on the tackle, it makes it very difficult, particularly with the young line. You see the presence there of Matt Forte. You know what? Jay Cutler's been cleared to go. You don't worry about it because he's got to be able to go. But after coming off a concussion, every hit you worry about.
Maynard, a very good directional punter. And the rookie Golden Tate is running backwards and is going down. A rookie mistake from a pretty good return guy. Seattle takes over on offense.
Chris, I want you to watch Brian Ewu here. Does a great job of maintaining contain. Golden Tate has no place to go. He keeps great leverage, forces him back inside. Had he gotten outside, he might have scored.
Ewu in at starting linebacker for the injured Lance Briggs, so he's having a busy afternoon already. Hasselbeck, second possession on first down. Marshawn Lynch has some room. First down. And when we talked to him, he said, when I get into beast mode, look out.
Yeah, now I want you to watch this. He is an inside zone runner, which leads everybody coming inside. He then jumps outside. They expect him to stay tackle to tackle, so when he bounces it outside, it's there for big gains.
And Hasselbeck with a pick up the pace approach to the line. There is threatening pressure here. Hasselbeck 4 out of 4 so far. For Mike Williams, incomplete. Going back to Marshawn Lynch, Pete Carroll telling us that they were aggressive. They kept calling. They called Buffalo 10 or 12 times. Hey, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. And they finally got it made.
Just wore him out. It says the thing he likes about Marshawn Lynch is he runs angry. And you meet this very pleasant young man, but he has that attitude. Hey, why should I be the one getting hit? I'm going to hit these linebackers.
Called it a fresh start. He's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in his career, a former Pro Bowler. On 2nd and 10, Hasselbeck, pass complete to Stokely, who's met hard. And Chris Harris wrapped him up in a hurry, one of the hardest hitters in the league.
Nice open field tackle by Harris. And Stokely's one of those guys. He's been here about a week and a half. Matt Hasselbeck says he's already my go-to guy. It's a very young group of receivers. They're still learning what it is to be in the NFL. Brandon Stokely, we drafted him in Baltimore coming out. A consummate professional, a meticulous route runner.
Stokely joined the team and within 3 days was their leading receiver in the game against the Rams. 3rd and 7. Julius Peppers went across. Let's see if he was drawn.
To tight end, Carlson moved.
False start, number 89. Offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Maybe Carlson didn't get enough sleep. Congrats, him and his wife Danielle having a baby this week. Mom, child, all happy and healthy. But for anybody lining up against Peppers, can't be too happy.
And they're putting him over there to help the presence with Russell Okung. We talked about it. But this doesn't help going from a 3rd and 9 to a 3rd and 13.
Forsett is in as the 3rd down back. Hasselbeck in the grass, got rid of it. Matt Toina was all over it. They're going to call that incomplete.
Now, either way, it's a punt. So Chicago doesn't much care either way. It looked like it should have been in the grasp. But getting that pressure on the inside, they're running stunts. You can just see this pressure coming from the inside. We've said it many times. A quarterback hates pressure on the inside. Julius Peppers stunning around. You can't step up. There's not a lot you can do with it.
Devin Hester back to return the punt. Looking into the sun and waving for the fair catch, and he hauls it in just beyond the 15-yard line. So the Bear defense does its job. Now Chicago takes over on offense. Along with Brian Billick, Chris Myers, hope you're enjoying the NFL on Fox from Chicago. This is a Bob Stenner production directed by Rich Dewey. And a little more offense than we might have expected to start things as Chicago scored on its opening drive. Then forced to punt. Now they'll start again behind Jay Cutler. And Chester Taylor in for Forte. On 1st and 10. Taylor has it. Gets across the 20-yard line.
And I've got to tell you, we alluded to it earlier with all this movement. I'll let you go to this first, Chris.
I wanted to allude to the Giants and Phillies, a part of a big day on Fox, the NLCS. Game 2, the Giants took Game 1 at Philadelphia. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. In high definition, it follows America's game of the week, which is the Vikings and Cowboys, and that follows this game here.
I want you to watch all the movement and shifting by Chicago again. And of course, they didn't do it this time.
Taylor brought down in a hurry. Let's check back in with Kurt Menefee for a game break. Kurt?
And once again, the Philadelphia Eagles scoring a touchdown. And once again, it's Deshaun Jackson. Ran one in from 31 out, caught one from 34 out. Philadelphia on top of Atlanta already, 14-0. Chris and Brian.
Thanks, Kurt. No Michael Vick in that game, and apparently the Eagles sailing along a big day in Philadelphia, with the Phillies hoping to bounce back against the Giants tonight in that NLCS game too. So a 3rd and 7 for Cutler. Earl Bennett moves to the left side. Pressure. And Cutler goes down. He never saw the blitz coming. That's Roy Lewis, the nickelback, who earlier was flagged for pass interference.
And Lewis comes from the top of the screen. Again, they're shifting, they're moving. They put the tight end strong, then weak, and now you don't. That's the tough thing when you shift this much. Jay Cutler's got to assume everybody's picked up. He had no idea he was coming scot-free off that weak side. Sometimes all that moving and shifting can cost you.
So Maynard from his own end zone. Let's see, as Golden Tate looked one way, steps up, catches it, no fair catch, brought down in a hurry. The kick coverage teams are all over the specialists that we talked about coming into the broadcast. There's a flag on the field. Al Riveron is going to take a look here and decide if there's a
Holding number 59, kicking team. The 10-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down, Seattle.
So there'll be no re-kick. You know, Pete Carroll talked about starting fast. He said at home we have the emotion, the energy, we've done well. He was worried a little bit about the time change from the Pacific to the Central.
They're
time.
kicking off at 10 o'clock, and we coaches worry so much about it. We change schedules, and we visit all the players. I'm at, what the heck? If we play at 10, we play at 10. If we play at 1, we play at 1. Don't worry about it. So obviously they're handling it well.
He flew him out on Friday from Seattle. They practiced at a high school nearby yesterday to try and adjust to the time level or time change from the Pacific time zone to the Central time zone as Marshawn Lynch carried on first down. 5 minutes and counting here in the opening quarter.
Chris, I want you to look at this. I noticed this yesterday at practice. Brian Urlacher, I'm not sure they don't paint this helmet on. Look at that thing. Could there be a tighter fit than that?
He said he likes a lot of air in that thing.
But geez, he pulls that off. You got to double check to make sure you haven't pulled a filling in.
He has been re-energized, healthy and playing that way as Lynch goes nowhere. And there was Urlacher as a flag goes down.
I'll bet this goes against Seattle with the holding on that edge. He's checking with Lovey.
Holding number 77, offense. 10-yard penalty, second down.
That's a second call on Andrews, the 4th penalty already for Seattle.
Yeah, and what happens, we talked about Marshawn Lynch already, starting inside then bouncing outside, and you're going to see here on the right side what happens is once he starts inside and then starts to bounce outside, it changes the direction. Boy, I'd have to see that one again. I'm not quite sure.
I didn't see it.
If he held real quick. But that's a tough one on an offensive lineman, particularly a pulling one, because all of a sudden the ball breaks out outside of you and the trajectory of the defender changes. But boy, if that happened, that was at light speed.
Well, it's going to make this drive a little bit tougher for Hasselbeck and that offensive line that's already sweating. Second down, 20 here. Hasselbeck said of this offense, we need to get really good at something instead of just okay at everything.
Well, this down and distance, you typically are going to see a quick draw or possibly a screen. You're trying to get back into a workable third down. Third down being 3rd and 10, you'll take it.
And Forsett is in, usually the third down back now with Lynch the starter. Hasselbeck has it, throws, and Stokely spins around, makes a catch, and cuts into that yardage, so it will be third down.
Yeah, he faked the quick draw action we talked about. The Bears get paid too. They step up to go ahead and try to affect it, and now they come back into Stokely. So we've already seen Stokely is a go-to guy here on this left side. There's no help for Okung. You gotta be impressed with this young man, because he did that one strictly one-on-one.
The first-round pick out of Oklahoma State hanging with Peppers. 3rd and 11. Time for Hasselback. Pass into coverage and incomplete. It was intended for Carlson, but Urlacher was back there.
Well, this is a good exchange for Chicago after the penalty on the kick. Backed them up a little bit, gave Seattle great field position. Then the other penalty against Seattle, the holding penalty, the fast holding penalty, kind of evened it up. And this Bear defense won this series because Seattle was in a great position to take advantage of the field position.
Seahawks don't even get a field goal attempt. Instead, John Ryan will be back to punt to Devin Hester. Again, looking into the sun, standing at his own 10. And he's just going to wave it off. And the kick is well placed and down right inside the 5-yard line, where the Bears offense will take over. Hey, there's a new way to play fantasy football, and everybody is involved in fantasy football, even some of the players. So make real-time substitutions in a 20-minute fast-paced game. New games will start every 15 minutes, and you can play right now at foxsports.com/live.
You play fantasy football?
I'm a fan, yes. In fact, I called you for tips, if you remember.
No, yeah, I did you a lot of good, didn't I?
The players you told me so far not so good. As Cutler gets the helmet on first down with Matt Forte in the backfield. Sacked the last time he went back to pass. This time he carries. And Mike Martz told you, Brian, coming off the concussion, Jay Cutler, we won't do anything special. I want you to talk about that in a moment, but we welcome Carissa Thompson from down on the field. Hi, Carissa.
Hi, guys. Well, a lot of instruction from offensive line coach Mike Tyson. You know, you mentioned all of those different adjustments, especially on that young right side, but you got to think about it this way, too. Those changes also are going to affect the running backs and Jay Cutler. After that last series, Chester Taylor and Matt Forte and Jay Cutler all got involved in that offensive line discussion to try to see if they can't all work together to make those adjustments, gentlemen.
Thanks, Carissa. Now 3 tight ends. You saw Mike Tice, former head coach, the offensive line coach here in Chicago, and Cutler from his own end zone. It's into coverage, incomplete. And you were told that we won't do anything special in terms of the protection. If Cutler's in there, he's our quarterback.
Yeah, you know, everybody's wondering, do you change the game plan? Do you run more? Do you protect more? And everybody made the point, rightfully so. Look, he's been cleared to go. If he's not cleared to go, then we won't put him in. We've got to run our normal game plan, and that's what they're doing here. It's just to see they're doing a lot of shifting in motion. That puts a lot of pressure on a guy that's been out for 2 weeks. So far, they've been very good at it with no procedure penalties.
Cutler said again, a great week of practice. He's 1 out of 4, but Seattle has applied pressure. 4 wide receivers now for Chicago on 3rd and 9. Cutler in the air and incomplete. No flags.
Well, I thought we were going to get a flag there. Looks like they got a handful of cloth, but they didn't throw it. Looked like they had a hold of it.
There is a flag back at the goal line area.
That would probably indicate holding on the Bears.
If it
Holding, number 68, offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
It must not have been in the end zone, because if it was in the end zone, then it would have been a safety.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see, is he in the end zone? Clearly, he's got his feet on the goal line here. Yeah, and the holding didn't take place inside the end zone. I guess that's the qualifier, so the Bears dodge a bullet there.
Frank Omiel called for the penalty. So another punt, 3rd of the game for Maynard. Each time Golden Tate is inching a little bit closer, but the return game has not been as spectacular as advertised. A kick that just sticks at the 36-yard line and goes out of bounds. The early pace of this game now as Seattle takes over on offense.
Well, I'm impressed with both teams. I am. We talk about how difficult it is on the road. Seattle they're weathering the storm, you know, with all the penalties and the field position. Chicago, I got to say, for Jay Cutler coming back after basically missing almost 2 full games, Mike Tyson, the job he's doing with this displaced offensive line, you have to be impressed.
Leon Washington checks in the backfield. On 1st and 10 for Seattle. That's Butler going in motion to the right side of Hasselbeck, and the play is waved off.
Boy, Erlach was
Chicago.
panicked. He called a quick timeout. They were obviously misaligned for what Seattle was doing.
Let's check in with Kurt Menefee for another game break. Kurt?
Green Bay's Aaron Rodgers with the longest completion of his young career, hooking up with Greg Jennings, who just outruns everybody. 86 yards on the score, and the Packers retake the lead as they get ready to start the second quarter in Green Bay, 10-7 over the Dolphins. Chris and Brian.
Yeah, the NFC North, very interesting. Greg Jennings with a very slow start, but now with Jermichael Finley out, I got a feeling Aaron Rodgers is going to find Greg Jennings a great deal.
There was some question about Rodgers and a concussion. He's playing this week. Of course, Jay Cutler sat out last week, and the Bears said not only did they clear him, but an independent specialist cleared Cutler.
Which everybody has to do now. It has to go through an independent source before the player can get back on the field.
After the Bear timeout, they have 2 remaining on 1st down for Seattle. Hasselbeck, quick pass. Oh, and Mike Williams was there, but the coverage as he went low to get the football was Tim Jennings, who's really there for more run support, was right with Williams, who stands about 6'5". And Jennings is only 5'8".
Well, Lovie Smith, who along with Rod Marinelli kind of coordinates this defense, they know they're facing a veteran quarterback in Matt Hasselbeck. You can't stand pat. You have to do a lot of different things against a veteran like Matt Hasselbeck.
Hasselbeck 6 out of 10. It's 2nd and 10. Lynch. And running hard. There's that beast mode he talked about.
Boy, he is a strong runner. That had nothing written all over it, and he just beasted his way down to a convertible 3rd and medium. You know, the difference between being 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 9, it's almost doubles the percentage. Look at this. He just fights through these. That's a lot of bodies there. That's a huge little gain for Seattle that puts them in a much more convertible 3rd down.
And they are in field goal range if they don't lose anything here on 3rd down.
Bears are showing pressure. They got a whole bunch of folks jammed up here in the line. Let's see if they drop out or come. They came.
Quick pass. Mike Williams, 1st down. And Charles Tillman held on to the big guy. Mike Williams, they're moving around from side to side as Seattle moves deeper into Bear territory, a 12-yard pickup.
Mike Williams is 6'5", 240 pounds. He's a couple Big Macs from being a tight end here, but particularly with pressure and a matchup with the corners, this is just the big target you need for a situation like that.
Former #1 pick, called a bust, out of the game for a while, trying to revive his career in Seattle. Pete Carroll giving him a chance. Quick pass is complete to Butler. And Dion Butler near another Seattle 1st down. Seattle gave us the impression that they were going to run and pound away, and they've mixed the run and pass nicely.
Well, and that's a personality in and of itself. I accused them of being Sybil, but right now they kind of, whatever voice they're hearing in their head, it's a good one because they've got the nice balance between a physical punishing Marshawn Lynch and now the things they're doing on the outside with the receivers.
Jeremy Bates, the offensive coordinator, helping to put the imprint on that personality for Pete Carroll's offense. 1st down after an 11-yard pickup. 1st quarter winding down. Marshawn Lynch hurdling and goes down. It'll be 2nd down and goal. The Bears scored first on their opening drive. Matt Hasselbeck answered with a touchdown pass to Dion Butler. And Bates and Hasselbeck trying to get into the end zone or get some points here. That is the end of the 1st quarter with the Seahawks and Bears tied at 7. Fox NFL Sunday continues from Soldier Field in Chicago in just a moment. Start of the 2nd quarter, and we're tied, but the Seahawks are threatening on 2nd down goal.
Well, I'd say they've more than handled the 1st quarter woes they've had. Huge difference in yardage and time of possession.
4 wide receivers, 4 set in the backfield. Hasselbeck, quick pass, and incomplete for Mike Williams. That was not near the mark, so it'll be 3rd and goal.
Yeah, that's a tough pass to get out of your hand quickly when you're going from gun. Typically in the gun, you tend not to do quick steps. This is just a one step to the out, or excuse me, even further outside Williams. That is tough to get it out of your hands quickly.
Especially when it's a big target like Mike Williams. So the Bear defense with the crowd getting into it. On the spot, 3rd and goal. Forsett. Justin Forsett is in for a touchdown. What a 3rd down call, and Julius Peppers slow to get up at the 5-yard line.
Well, those kind of calls very rarely work for a touchdown. Boy, but it sure did here, and it was just a matter. They had bodies on it, but it got to be a rugby match in the middle, and Seattle won the scrum on that one. Look at this. You can see they're configured here, and now there's a whole bunch of bodies rallying to it. We got hats on him, but now they're just pushing and shoving. Okung's going to score with his man and the ball carrier all in one.
Russell Okung is doing an excellent job at that tackle spot. First carry and a touchdown produced in this game for Justin Forsett, giving up his starting job to Marshawn Lynch, his former teammate at Cal.
Today's game is sponsored by Coors Light, the new Silver Bullet aluminum pint from Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL, by Dish Network, and by the new Ford Edge. The world has never seen a crossover quite like this.
Hope you're enjoying another NFL on Fox Sunday. The Seahawks are, as Justin Forsett gets his first rushing touchdown of the year, and Marshawn Lynch, who was a bit ahead of him at Cal, they're good buddies. In fact, Lynch was in the wedding party for Forsett, and Forsett went into Pete Carroll. He saw him just come by, and when the trade possibility existed, said, let's deal for this guy. If I have to give up some carries, I will. He can help us win. The epitome of teamwork there as Alinda Mare kicks off to Danielle Manning. This time he's going to bring it out. And Manning stops short of the 20-yard line again. The excellent special teams play as Jay Cutler comes in, and he said he expected pressure from Seattle coming off the concussion and certainly with the reworked offensive line.
Yeah, and they haven't gotten any continuity yet. They thought they could run the ball. They thought they could protect, and boy, they just want to stay away from this nightmare. The thing about this New York game, in the first 9 pressures, 8 of them that got home did so with just a 4-man rush. They didn't have to bring DBs. They didn't even stunt much. It was just simple 4-man rush that got to them. 9
sacks in the first half. We had a penalty here.
And some
timeout
by Seattle.
This is their first.
Okay. Correction,
that
was
a 30-second timeout.
A Seattle timeout. I wanted to go back to what Cutler was saying. He was foggy and dizzy in that second quarter. He felt fine this week, but 9 sacks in the first half, and that forced Mike Martz and the Bears to make some adjustments on their offensive line. It's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. If you throw in baseball, we'll call it a tripleheader. America's Game of the Week, Cowboys and Vikings coming up after this. And Brett Favre will open with Randy Moss. Apparently the two went in on their own Tuesday night to look at game film and go over some things to try and spark the 1-3 Vikings. Dallas in the same boat. Here, Seattle trying to win its 3rd game of the season. The Bears trying to go to 5-1, but so far a slow start for Jay Cutler, just 1 out of 5. Biggest play was a penalty, a pass interference penalty on the Seattle defense. Chester Taylor on the left side as a receiver. Cutler goes to the right side off of Olsen's hands and incomplete. Let's check in with Carissa Thompson.
Well, an update, guys. Seahawks are without a member of their secondary. Cornerback Kelly Jennings is out with a pulled right hamstring. He's walking around on the sidelines with some ice on it. They'll take a closer look at halftime. Walter Thurman will be his replacement.
All right, so thank you, Carissa. Roy Lewis, the nickelback. If you're Cutler, if you're Martz, and you see that, do you attack the rookie from Oregon?
We said in the open, this is the 2nd worst pass defense in the NFL. They're down a man. I don't know how you not go after it, but they do want to keep a running profile as well.
Taylor stays in on 2nd and 10. For Aromashodu, and he has a big gain down to the 46-yard line, and they picked on Walter Thurman. Devin Aromashodu went right to that area.
Well, Roma should do is kind of the forgotten man coming into the season. Here you're just going to see him motioning in and coming across. Cutler looking down the field for something more vertical. Hesitated, and then just came off to the shallow crossing route. They went after the right guy. Well, Roma should do kind of the forgotten man coming into the season. Had a great final half of the season last year and really hasn't shown up much thus far. That was obviously a big play for him here.
Jay Cutler told us after Friday's practice that what Roma should do is working his way back into the lineup more and more, almost forcing us to look his way. That's Earl Bennett in motion on first down. And Cutler avoids the rush, completes the pass. It's Bennett. A 36-yard connection between the two former Vanderbilt teammates.
A lot going on for Jay Cutler, but he's weighing it out here. A lot of people crossing. He avoids protection or avoids pressure there, gives him the time to hit Earl Bennett. All this motion and shifting. They're trying to find the best matchup, and in these last two plays, they have found it.
Seattle hustling to get their defensive players off the field. On first down, Cutler. Pass is incomplete, and he got hit hard and went down. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee for another game break. Kurt?
Ben Roethlisberger was picked off on his third pass of the season, but hangs in there against Cleveland and makes up for it. Hooking up with Mike Wallace on the 29-yard score. Obviously, his first touchdown back from suspension. And the Steelers have a 7-3 lead in the second. Chris and Brian.
Thanks, Kurt. Big Ben doesn't want to be called that anymore. Steelers did an excellent job without him. Only one loss this year. Bears only one loss this year. In the red zone, 4 wide receivers. Cutler's been much better down here this year than last year. They give it to Forte, and he goes down in a hurry. Seattle was ready for that. Thurman was involved with Chris Clemens on the tackle. Thurman coming up from that corner spot, and Clemens nailing down that end spot.
You know, they're moving and shifting, as I'm saying. They got to be real careful with Jay Cutler here now, particularly in the red zone. When you shift and open up the edges like that, both in the running game and in the passing game, all of a sudden that's a very short edge. You don't want to force Jay Cutler into a mistake down here.
And Jay told us you get a little older, you get a little more cautious. You have to come away with points when you're down here. Sure, you'd love a touchdown. 3rd and 10, trailing by 7. Cutler under pressure. And goes down. Looked like Aaron Curry eventually brought him down.
Frank, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. I love the motion, but I want you to look right here. This is an open end with that tackle. There's no tight end presence. There's no back presence back there. That's a short edge to come to this running to this quarterback. This is where you tend to make an error if you're not careful. Nice job in his part, pulling it back down. Don't force a turnover. Take the 3 points.
Robbie Gould to try a 34-yard field goal. The kick is good. Robbie coming off his career high of 53 yards last week. But Seattle's defense holds Chicago to 3. Good news for Jay Cutler, no turnover in the red zone. The bad news, they don't get the touchdown. There's the number 2 quarterback, Haney, for today's game. Cutler 3 out of 9 so far, 83 yards. Touchdown came on the ground with Forte. So after Gould's field goal, cutting the Seattle lead to 4, Leon Washington, who had 2 touchdown runbacks in a win over San Diego earlier this year, has a chance. And is cut down just beyond the 25-yard line. Wednesdays make lunchtime your prime time. Lunch with benefits at foxsports.com. It's a one-of-a-kind show from your computer. 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, and we have the after party with Jay Glazer. Of course, Brian Billick, coach speak, always entertaining. I remember you told me the computer was a passing fad. Now you carry that thing with you everywhere.
Yeah.
A passing fad. Hasselbeck has been passing his way, 8 out of 13 for already over 100 yards, and Seattle has a 4-point lead. And he's going to pass again if he can. Gets rid of it. I'm surprised, having seen Seattle this year, how well they're playing away from home.
Yeah, and it's a mindset. And we could tell, I alluded to it earlier, talking to the players, and I think they were just drinking the Kool-Aid, but Pete Carroll sold them on, guys, it is a mindset. And the players were like, hey, this is no big deal. We don't care where you kick it off. They were drinking the Kool-Aid in our meetings yesterday.
So far, so good. Lynch, who got the start, gets the carry. And the ex-Bill brought down in a hurry, so that'll bring up a third down. That's Brian Ewu. Again, the ankle injury keeping Lance Briggs out. He did not practice all week. And Ewu, who has been a terrific special teams player, not only here for the Bears, but when he was in Jacksonville.
That's the difficulty when you take your best special teamer and have to start him now. He can't do everything. It affects your special teams. Not having Lance Briggs hurts. This guy's a dynamic player. Ewu is a solid player. Briggs is a special player.
Briggs looks on 3rd and 9. Peppers is on the left side. Pass complete to the tight end Carlson, but short of the first down marker.
You know, the coaches in Seattle kind of expected more out of Carlson, although he's on pace. He's been a 50-plus catch, guys, the last 2 years. He's on same pace right now. Big physical receiver, but they expected a little bit more out of him. Hasselback, this is a go-to guy for him. If for no other reason, he's most familiar with him as anybody on the roster.
John Ryan ready to punt. Standing inside his own 20. Devin Hester watches it bounce. And these kickers and punters have been doing an excellent job to keep the return men away from the football.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Windows 7.
Glad to have you with us. The Seahawks, along with the Bears, trying to silence the skeptics who said, yeah, you've won games, but how good are you really? Jay Cutler hopes to get Chicago to its 5th win of the year, trailing 14-10. Screen to Forte. And look at Matt Forte go to the 45 and then some. Lawyer Malloy made the stop.
Well, the screen game has been huge for Chicago. Just watch the way these linemen are going to work out in front of the screen. They let that rush come through, and now they slip it out to Matt Forte with a whole bunch of folks behind him. They cranked off an 80-yarder in that opening game. I was here for that game. This is a huge part of their offense.
And maybe a way to help settle Jay Cutler. Out last week with a concussion. Has been hit hard today. Has yet to really find his rhythm. He has plenty of time, and he's going to keep it and go out of bounds at midfield. Let's check in for another game break. We'll keep you informed with everything that's going on. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Keeping an eye on the NFC West, the Rams. Sam Bradford hooking up with Denario Alexander. 38 yards for the score, his first NFL touchdown. St. Louis leading San Diego 10-0. Chris and Brian, how about Bradford being the #1 overall pick? Denario Alexander, an undrafted free agent.
And the fact that they can work together and have success. And of course, Seattle knows what it's like playing the Rams in St. Louis. That was a tough road loss for them.
But at the end of the day, Bradford is going to buy.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, given the difference in contracts.
He'll make a few more bucks.
Yeah.
2nd and 5 for Cutler. He's going deep down the sideline for Knox, and it's tipped, and he had a shot at it, but it went by him.
Boy, there was a lot of hand fighting going on down there. That ball did tip up a little bit. Knox, you can see here, that's just a lot of bodies here. This thing tips up. I don't know if Knox gave up on it or didn't see it bounce. Stay with it, keep going. Boy, that would have been a fun one for him had he stepped back underneath that one.
Now, you are looking back into the sun from that angle, but to have those two receivers that close together.
Yeah, no, that had to be a mix-up, and Jay Cutler's thrown up a prey.
There's the sun that we talked about as far as the angle.
Well, then you just catch the dark spot.
Use your sunglasses. Chicago 0 for 4 on 3rd down. Worst in the league coming in that department. And it's going to get worse. Tatupu tips it incomplete. Another punt for Chicago.
Seattle is weathering the storm. I'm impressed. The way this game has gone, it would be real easy. Again, they have no reference frame to do well on the road. I think they're handling it very, very well.
Excellent defense as Golden Tate is ready for the bunt. Could Jay Cutler be a little shell-shocked?
Well, no, I think they're opening up those edges. They're putting a lot of pressure on him. They thought they could run the ball. They really haven't attempted a whole lot of runs thus far.
So Maynard's kick, again, an excellent directional kicker, and looking into that sun, the ball is not returnable. So Seattle will start at a hole, but they have a 4-point lead here at Soldier Field. Seattle standing in its own end zone on a first down. They have the football. They have the lead. But their defense wants a little hometown support. Marshawn Lynch across the 10-yard line and made something happen. And the addition, his 8th carry of the game. What does that do for a Chicago defense preparing for this Seattle offense?
Well, obviously, anytime you can run the ball, and Pete Carroll, you could tell when we visited with him yesterday, he was excited about having Marshawn Lynch because they were missing that physical aspect between the tackles. Forsett is more of a flash guy outside. Obviously, Lynch is a pounding between the tackles, and they're loving it right now.
Hasselbeck pointing, throwing to Lynch, who goes out of bounds near the first down marker.
And we've seen a bunch of these boots and waggles. This was a staple for them under Matt Hasselbeck. They did a lot in training camp. Really haven't done much this year because they haven't run the ball consistently. Now you see that Marshawn Lynch is cranked up in the running game. You see more of these boots and waggles getting outside to contain of the pocket.
So Lynch, a run, a catch, a first down for Seattle. Have a little more breathing room from their own 16-yard line. Justin Forsett checks in and carries. Slips to the outside, and Forsett has a first down for Seattle. That combination of power and then the slippery speed outside.
Yeah, I want you to watch here the difference in the two. Marshawn Lynch pounding away. Now here we're inside the pits, and watch the way he just steps around these blocks. Quick feet, bounces, nods, steps to the side. Totally different style than Marshawn Lynch. And this is a league of two-back punch. You got your big punch guy with Lynch. You got your flash guy in Forsett.
On first down, Forsett carries across the 30-yard line, and I realize we have 7 minutes to go here, but we haven't called in the first half Julius Pepper's name very much against the rookie left tackle Russell Okung, the first-round pick out of Oklahoma State.
And you're exactly right. That's impressive. They've done a few things to help him, but we've already seen he's been left one-on-one with Peppers for a while, and so far, the young man's holding up real well.
Okung got in against the Rams, some 25 snaps to get his feet wet. As Hasselbeck throws incomplete, intended for Michael Robinson.
And they've been pushing Matt Hasselbeck a little bit. Matt Hasselbeck has made a career in Seattle, primarily under the Mike Holmgren offense. Get the ball out of your hand quick. Tempo, tempo. They've been trying to get him to be a little more patient. They don't want sacks. They don't want interceptions. But let a play mature a little bit. We'll get more plays down the field that way.
Bears defense facing another major moment here on 3rd and 6. Pressure. Picked up. Pass. Mike Williams hangs on for a first down just inside the Seattle 40.
Mike Williams, after being out of the league for a while, has been reborn in Seattle. Again, a big physical receiver. Matt Hasselbeck been in this league a long time. He knows when he has matchups that favor him. This is a gifted athlete that has had to learn to be a pro, learn what it is to be a functioning member of the community. It's nice to see a guy get a second chance.
Hasselbeck complete. Chris Baker, the tight end, inside the 45 of Chicago.
Boy, and this drive has silenced the Bear fans. This thing started off in the shadow of their own goal line, and Seattle doing a nice, they start off pounding with Marshawn Lynch. They got it to Forsett with a couple flash plays, and now Matt Hasselbeck has got into a flow throwing the ball.
The fans stunned. How much does this have to do with Lance Briggs being out of the game for Chicago?
It doesn't help.
Hasselbeck underneath at the 40-yard line. Urlacher is there, and Stokely makes the catch. An impressive drive against this Chicago defense.
And you've got them on their heels a little bit. I'm not sure you don't pound away just a little bit here now. You started off running the ball. You've thrown the ball. You've got Chicago thinking, we got to stop this pass. I'm not sure you don't hand the ball off to a back here. Get downhill.
9th play of the drive. On 2nd and 5, Lynch checks back in. Let's see if they follow your cue on pounding the ball. Instead, they give it to Michael Robinson, the fullback. What did Lynch say about having a fullback, not used to having a guy?
Yeah, he says, I got my own special secret service. I got my own personal protector. And Marshawn Lynch is more of a two-back. You know, some backs don't like having a guy in front of him. Forsett wants to be a single-back guy because now he can go more to an open area. Don't add another body. Marshawn Lynch, put a big back in front of me, be my personal protector. I'll pound away.
4 out of 7 on 3rd down for Seattle. They have 3rd and short here, and Forsett is in instead of Lynch.
This is kind of Stokely area right here. I'd watch for Brandon Stokely.
And we have a timeout, Seattle's 2nd timeout. They have 1 remaining. Julius Peppers, who had such an emotional game going back to Carolina last week in the Bears' victory, has been held in check.
And you can see here, he's a little winded. This is what happens to a defensive line.
So's the guy standing there wiping his face.
Yeah, look at him. You know, he's tired.
Well, that's one thing Brian Urlacher said. Even if the stats don't show up, because he's out there, offenses are worrying, doing other things that allow some of our other defensive players, like an Israel Adonijah, who had 3 sacks last week, to make big plays.
What Urlacher liked about it, he said, because he draws so much attention, the backs have to stay in and help the tackles. We don't get guys leaking out as much. We don't have to cover the backs out of the backfield as much. But right now, they're going to have to cover everybody because Seattle's kind of doing whatever they want.
So a 3rd and 2.5 after Seattle talked things over.
Again, watch Stokely right here. I'd be looking for him in this down and distance.
For Butler, and he's brought down short of the 1st down marker. An excellent tackle over there by Zach Bowman.
Great open field tackle. If you're going to play good defense in this league, you've got to have good open field tackles, and that's exactly what Zach Bowman did. Prevented the 1st down, forcing Seattle to punt.
Now, would you have played that a little differently if you were the Seahawks, especially after the timeout, given where you were, field goal possibility in terms of what you would do?
Well, I'm sure they had a combination. He was looking downfield. This was his last option, hoping the guy could maybe break a tackle. That, you know, when it's 3rd and 4, you don't design a play to be 3 yards.
A big stop by Chicago, out of field goal range. So Ryan kicks it, tries to force Hester to fair catch it, and he does, just beyond the 6-yard line. Tonight, game 2 of the National League Championship Series. The baseball giants, San Francisco's Giants, will send Jonathan Sanchez to the mound against Roy Oswalt and the Phillies, as San Francisco tries to go up 2-0 in the best of 7 coverage of game 2 of the NLCS. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific from Philadelphia. It's in high definition only on Fox. We'll take you through the National League Championship Series all the way through the World Series. And don't forget, after this game, America's Game of the Week, Cowboys and Vikings coming up.
Well, I love this. We're back and forth. Seattle had to start a drive in the shadow of their own goal line. Chicago's kind of the same place. Let's see if they can push it out from the end zone here. 9
runs for the Bears on offense, 14 passes attempted for Mike Martz and Jay Cutler. And Cutler just got rid of it. Good pressure from the Seahawks.
Yeah, they were trying there again. They're opening up these edges for Seattle. Seattle's not a particularly big defense. Chicago felt like they had an advantage, Chris, with the size of their offensive line against this smallish end. Here you can see tight end releases, try to cut right here. He was trying to go for a quick little screen, looks like, to the weak side. Didn't have time even to set it up. I'm surprised they're not trying to press the run a little bit, given the size advantage they have against this, particularly the nickel front of the Seattle Seahawks.
But you know Mike Martz, balance for him is 60% throw and 40% run, and they'll throw here. Cutler for Johnny Knox. He can fly. Inside the 25 of the Seahawks.
Nice job of Jay Cutler stepping up in the pocket. They're trying to tempo it here. Johnny Knox and Devin Hester, maybe the fastest combination receivers in the National Football League. Nice job selling the post. Now, did he step on that sideline? They're trying to get up to the ball quickly. Chicago is. Nice play before it gets challenged.
Here comes the challenge flag.
Yeah, they were right there on top of it. Chicago tried to hustle up and get this thing out. Jay's a little frustrated right now. He wanted to get to the line right now to get a snap off to not give Pete Carroll a chance to get that flag out.
Pete Carroll, 2 out of 2 in challenges.
Seattle is challenging the ruling on the play that the player stepped out of bounds prior to when the whistle was blown.
Al Riveron will review, and we'll take a closer look to see if Pete can go 3 for 3 in the challenge department. You're watching the NFL on Fox.
Chris, I think this play is going to stand. As you can see here, Johnny Knox right there. Looks like his foot is clearly in bounds. Now the next foot, what's it do? Right there in bounds. I think the Bears are going to have this big play down on the 25-yard line.
Thank goodness for high definition.
Well, Pete Carroll, you know, a 2 for 2 now, or 3 for 3. Here now they're going to lose now that they've lost, if indeed it's what we see here. I don't know what the official sees. I wasn't very good at this. But obviously, if they see it the way we see it, he'll lose a timeout and have 1 remaining.
Pete told us he has help upstairs, an offensive coach, a defensive coach that is specifically, that goes through one voice to say, hey, yes, we should challenge, no, we shouldn't, and they were quick to throw.
Of which you can trust none of it, I promise you.
Don't listen to the player. That's what every coach tells you.
And even the guys up in the booth half the time. It's
for Johnny Knox, if it stands, the 67-yard catch and carry is a season long, his career long 68 yards.
The ruling on the field stands. Seattle has been charged with the 3rd timeout. Seattle can no longer challenge any plays this half.
Interesting, you said you weren't very good. Seattle head coaches on challenges all time hit just 25%.
There again, real clear cut. There, no, he's clearly in bounds. Next one. Now, they were right here. They could see it. Like you said, you got all that help upstairs. I'm not quite clear, but I guarantee you there's some coach saying, Coach, he was out of bounds. He was out of bounds. And it's like, man, what were you looking at?
So the big play from the big play receiver stands. It's a 1st and 10 from the 25 with Matt Forte in with Cutler. And Jay to throw, has time, and completes. Falling down at the 12-yard line is Johnny Knox. Another 1st down.
Yeah, now they're inside. You know, Johnny Knox is his go-to guy. As I said earlier, this is a fast combination with Devin Hester and Johnny Knox. This would be a possibility of a Matt Forte down. I'd expect a quick run here.
Nearing the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, they're just going to take this down to the 2-minute.
Well, Bears have both of their timeouts remaining. So that's where we are. All right, you've been warned. Chicago is on the move, trailing by 4 at home.
Well, we question whether Mike Martz would run it or not. And you can see right here, he's sticking with the pass, but with those numbers, you really can't falter right now. But come on, give me a run here, Mike.
This drive, all 3 plays have been pass plays. Here comes another one, and Cutler can get it off. And almost intercepted twice by the Seahawks in the end zone. Went through the hands of Walter Thurman, the corner who came in when Jennings went out with a hamstring injury, and Earl Thomas, the rookie safety, back there as well.
Boy, that's just he thought he could maybe get it over the top, but that's an awful flat throw with a whole bunch of white jerseys looking at you. Again, we talked about it earlier. Don't turn the ball over down here. It's a 4-point game. You want a touchdown, but don't give up the 3 points.
So now 2nd and 10. Cutler's pass on the other side of the receiver, but a nice catch made by Devin Aromashadu, who had to get a stop and turn. And it'll bring up third down. And again, the Bears 0 for 5 on third downs today. And they came in as the worst in the NFL, just about 21% on third downs in the league coming in.
Well, this is where Mike Martz knows that Jay Cutler has to be careful. It sounds awful conservative, and hey, whatever you do, don't screw up. You got it, never up, never in, you golfers say. But by the same token, let's don't turn the ball over. Whatever shot you take here, be smart about it.
Cutler just wasn't comfortable, and the Seattle defense stiffens, forcing a field goal attempt. Shaking his head as he walks off the field.
There again, you see this pressure. They've opened up that edge. That's a receiver right there on the edge. Couple guys coming off, hands up high, forcing an early throw without actually getting a hit on the quarterback. That's a win for Seattle, even though they've gone the length of the field to only hold them to 3.
Lofa Tatupu, remember, said play pass until it's not. Every play in that drive was a pass. So Robbie Gould is good. So the Bears inch a little bit closer, trailing 14-13. Tomorrow night on the all-new House, smallest patient fights to survive. Can House perform a miracle? It's a medical mystery that'll surprise you even at the very end. Jennifer Gray is the guest star on an all-new House tomorrow night at 8, 7 Central, and viewer discretion advised. Lovie Smith said, I always try to keep the same mood, low-key, even temperament, whether we're up, whether we're down, whether...
Well, Lovie does that, but I'm not so sure, Lovie, again, how are they winning? Last week, good defense, ran for better than 200 yards. And I'm not trying to say they shouldn't continue to throw the ball, but at some point, Mike Tice, I'm sure, is also thinking, you know what, my guys would love an occasional run here and there, because this young line, all of a sudden now it turns into a track meet, and that's awful tough on a young, displaced offensive line.
And Leon Washington, proof that one big return can change things, as he helped win a game against the Chargers, who were trailing at the last point we checked. Green Bay, and I know Bear fans are interested in that game, tied with Miami at the half. The Visa halftime report coming up with Kurt and the guys. All the highlights and information you need to know. Washington going to have to come across the field. And is trapped inside the 15. Terrific special teams play from Corey Graham to keep Washington in check. Seattle starting in the hole once again with a 1-point lead.
Couple things here now. No timeouts by the Seahawks, but you got two timeouts over here. Didn't draw that circle very well, but 2 timeouts by Chicago. If Seattle chooses not to do anything here, we might see Chicago use a timeout. They could get decent field position if they work the timeouts right.
So let's see if Hasselbeck, he runs it on first down to Forsett, who has room, pushes it out near the 25-yard line, close to a first down as the clock continues to run.
Yeah, no, with that kind of game, Lovey's not going to do that because it's too short a distance to convert. Either gain nothing by calling the timeout.
Forsett will carry again, stop short of the first down. Now maybe would you call time because you're faced with a third down if you're Seattle.
Yeah, I think he's going to let this run because on a 3rd and short, you really needed to stuff them on first down to say, okay, let's use our timeout, see if we can make something happen with the punt.
Forsett remains in. He gets the carry, looks for the first down and gets it. And Seattle with no timeouts, as you mentioned, Brian, they're going to let the clock run. And of course, they lost the challenge, so they can only challenge one more time. Otherwise, inside of 2 minutes at the end of the game, it would be a booth review. But Seattle, which has struggled on the road and in different time zones, is holding its own here with a 14-13 lead at the break. Coming up, the Visa halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy with all the scores and highlights on all the other NFL action. The Bears trailing by 1 at the break. A bit of a surprise here in Chicago that Seattle on the road has a 14-13 lead, given there are 2 road games this year. Pete Carroll's team outscored miserably 51-17. So how did his team handle the road today? Well, veteran lawyer Malloy fired up the team prior to the kickoff.
We got to win on the road. Open your eyes.
Where we at? Where we at? Let's go. Home.
And the defense, as well as the offense, playing as comfortable as if they were at home.
Well, and that's what Lawyer Malloy is here to do. You know, Pete Carroll had Lawyer Malloy early in his career. Said he was kind of a wild cannon. Now he's one of his leaders because it is all about mindset. And as I said many times, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're believing it. Right now it's 14-13.
Robbie Gould kicks to Leon Washington. And look at Leon go. Best return of the day out across the 40-yard line. No flags on the field. Let's head down to our sideline reporter, Carissa Thompson.
Well, guys, catching up with both coaches at halftime for Lovie Smith. Not too happy. He said, we are lucky to be down by only one. I said, you know, you thought you'd be able to run the ball against the Seattle defense, but you went to the aerial attack. He said, you know, honestly, we aren't even doing that well. 0 for 6 on third down conversions. Can't get it done in the red zone. For Pete Carroll, he said it's all about stopping those breakout plays and those yards after the catch. Loves what Marshawn Lynch has added to this offense, gentlemen.
And Seattle's offense, which has gone toe-to-toe with the Bears defense. Marshawn Lynch goes face-to-face and does a nice job to avoid a major loss. So it'll be second down for Seattle. I think that's what's been surprising, how well Seattle's been able to move the ball against this Chicago defense minus Lance
Yeah,
Green.
and opposite to Lovie Smith, who said that we are lucky only to be down by one. I think Pete Carroll probably told his guys, hey, you guys earned this 1-point lead at half. We haven't been here a lot. You've handled being on the road. You've weathered the storm. Now let's go take control of this game.
And the defense of Seattle holding Chicago to a couple of field goals when they were down in scoring position for a possible touchdown. Second and 10. Hasselback's throw to Mike Williams right at the 49. He was brought down there as Williams has been a big target. Tim Jennings stayed with Mike Williams, his 5th catch of the day, and that leads all receivers. So third down now for Seattle.
Well, Tim Jennings is all of 5'8" or 9 at best. And as we said, Michael Williams 6'5". You get that kind of matchup, you're going to take advantage of it.
Back to Williams. They took advantage against Tillman on the other side for a first down catch. And looks like Stokely is.
Well, I don't know if it's Jeremy Bates dialing up right or whether it's Matt Hasselbeck, but right now they're dialing up these quick passes at just the right time, because every time that Chicago steps up on the line of scrimmage and brings inside pressure, they seem to be getting the ball out of their hand quickly with these quick throws.
Jeremy Bates, who helped Jay Cutler arrive on the pro level, blending well here with Hasselbeck. Pass in and out of the hands and was hanging in the air, and Carlson should have had it.
Yeah, I'm not sure Danielle Manning didn't get a hand on this. The ball was just a little bit behind Carlson. Good pressure on Matt Hasselbeck. You can see here, Danielle Manning gets there. Don't give up on the play. Nope, I thought maybe he got his hands in there. That's just a drop by Carlson.
So second down and 10 for Hasselbeck. Lynch, the starter. Marshawn, since being acquired from Buffalo. Justin Forsett is in there now. He's been the third down back much of the day. On second down, Hasselbeck down the sideline and trying to connect with Golden Tate. It'll be third down.
Yeah, you can see they're going to pick their spots here on this backside. I want you to watch the help they get on the left side against Julius Peppers. The tight end starts there. The back has a presence, allows the tight end to overcommit to the outside. They are changing it up not to let Julius Peppers get started. So far, he really hasn't been much of a factor.
Seattle wants to take advantage of excellent field position again on third and 10. Washington and Forsett are in. Hasselbeck dumps it off, just does get it to Washington, but it'll be fourth down. And Julius Peppers is lying down at midfield, being helped up by his teammates. Peppers has not been a noticeable force.
No matter what here, now you got Oku, you see Forsett looking inside, probably needed to help out on the outside a little bit. That's just a lot of stunts coming in there. Finally, the pressure getting home on Matt Hasselbeck and affecting his ability to deliver.
So a missed opportunity for Seattle, and looking into the sun is Hester. Fair catch at the 10-yard line. Jay Cutler, 7 out of 18, 188 yards in the first half, takes over here in the third quarter. Along with Brian Billick and Carissa Thompson from down on the field, Chris Myers, and glad you're with us from Chicago and the NFL on Fox. On first down, going nowhere is Matt Forte. For the 5th time in this game, the Bears are starting inside their own 20. They've had horrendous field position.
This is kind of unique. I want you to see here where Mike Martz is. He's all the way opposite of where his offense is. You don't see this very often. He wants this view of the defense so he can better help his quarterback. He relays the plays to the quarterback coach who's closer to the offense to get it in. But he typically will position himself in this unique angle to get a broader view of the defense.
It's a guy always looking for an angle on 2nd and 10. Cutler goes down, and the ball looked like it's a safety in the end zone. He held on to the football, but Seattle gets 2. And it was a tough hit.
And again, from the backside, Jay Cutler gets hit as though he did not anticipate coming off this backside. You're going to see here up at the top, the DB is coming. The tight end releases. The tackle's inside looking for the tackle. He had no clue that that was coming.
And Jordan Babineau from the safety spot delivered the hit. It's 2 points for the Seahawks, who add to their lead. Seattle's defense producing points. 16-13 Seahawks lead, and they're going to get the football as Jay Cutler is sacked for the 3rd time, recovered his own fumble in his own end zone. So Brad Maynard will punt to Golden Tate. And a rookie from Notre Dame has it. Right up the middle of the field, stopped at the 38-yard line.
All right, right from the get-go, here's the problem. You got a DB coming from the outside, and now this tackle, Omiel, he should have opened up. There's no question that given the front that they had, stop right there, he needed to open up to the outside here. Jay Cutler has no clue this guy's coming because based on the front, the tackle should have opened up for that secondary man. And here you can see with the hit, the ball clearly comes out. They're lucky that it kind of falls or rolls back into the stomach of Jay Cutler, or it might have been a touchdown for the Seattle Seahawks.
That reworked offensive line beat on that play as Marshawn Lynch is beat down to the ground by Brian Ewu. It'll be 2nd down for Seattle.
You know, the sacks, obviously, and some of these, you know, you're talking about all the sacks that came in the New York game. It's really not a matter of the number of sacks. It's when do they come. And obviously that being a key one backed up on your own goal line.
Jay Cutler has to be tough to throw and take the hits that he does. Hasselbeck to Lynch, who slips out of a tackle of Urlacher and goes out of bounds. It'll be 3rd down.
Boy, you have to be impressed with Marshawn Lynch. He has saved them from a couple of 2nd and 3rd and longs just by his physicality of getting it back into a manageable distance. This easily could have been 3rd and 15 instead of 3rd and 11.
It's a kind of game the Bears defense will have to make a play. Lovie Smith's teams have led the NFL in takeaways since he took over as head coach. They led the league coming into today. They could use one here. Forsett goes way to the right. And Hasselbeck just tries to get rid of it. Is that a shovel pass?
Well, that remains to be seen. They're calling
Bears
the Bears. He shoveled that underneath. It's all about the angle of the arm. Was it a pass or were you fumbling it forward? They need to sort this out and discuss it. You can't just roll it forward. So they're overruling it here. Riveron came in and said, look, this was an attempted pass. Watch right here. He sees the screen is dead. Pulls it back in. Ooh, boy. I don't know. And that's a judgment call.
Is that something you can challenge if you're Lovie Smith?
You know what? In terms, I don't know that you can with the angle of the call. You can challenge. Was it a fumble? Was it a hit? I don't know that you can challenge what was the intent of the throw, but you can. Indeed, did he get out of his hands before it was a pass intent and a fumble? Obviously not going to happen now.
It wasn't the best play by Hasselbeck, who's done a few of those today. Let's take another look. Either way, the Bears.
This is borderline. You know, I understand, yeah, it was a pass intent. Yeah, he just got it out just in time.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Visa. More people go with Visa.
Bears have first and 10 at their own 36.
Back here in Chicago, Hasselbeck, the pass ruled incomplete. The Bears, after the punt, their best starting field position today, just beyond their own 30-yard line. And on first down, Cutler to throw again and has a man inside the 45. Devin Hester with the catch. We bring in our Fox NFL rules analyst Mike Pereira to review that play for us that was called incomplete. Mike?
Hey, Chris, that was like the old tuck play where when did the ball come loose? Yeah, it is reviewable, but actually the forward motion of the hand had stopped, and then he shoved it forward, and that starts the forward pass too. So there wasn't a tuck motion. Had it been challenged, we would have stayed with the incomplete pass call because of that second motion of putting it forward. Actually a wise decision not to challenge that play.
Thanks, Mike, and he's on top not just for this game, but any game you watch on Fox for an interpretation of the rules as we get a timeout from Chicago on first down. Let's take another look at this and see what Mike was explaining for us, Brian, about the hand movement.
Yeah, and had Peppers gotten there just a step earlier, or not Peppers, but right here, he gets it off just enough. Mike's saying the impetus going forward makes that an incomplete pass. Had the defender hit the hand a little earlier, you might have been able to call it a fumble. Clearly, the impetus was going forward.
And that was Henry Melton applying the pressure. One of the guys that Lovie Smith pointed out to you after practice that he thought he was growing into a top-notch player, one of the reserve defensive linemen. Something I learned from the past on those reviews, if it was reviewed from Mike Pereira, was that you would review the play all the way through the fumble recovery. It's not just part of the play, but as he pointed out, Lovie Smith making the right call, not challenging, and especially because it was a third down stop, you figure we're going to get the football anyway, and the Bears do. So trailing by 3, first and 10 from the 45. Cutler on the move. He's to get rid of it. And throws it out of bounds.
Yeah, that's vintage Romo there. Tony Romo looks like Tony Romo stepping in. He's going, woof. Boy, I dodged a bullet there. Nice job. That's one of those things where all of a sudden you get hit from behind and the ball comes out. That's a good job by Jay Cutler.
He's more athletic than he gets credit for.
Yes, he is. Look, he changed direction about 4 or 5 times here. But look at what he's got. He's got the ball protected. He had the ball tucked in. I give him great credit for having ball presence there and not leaving it vulnerable. Nice job by the young quarterback.
On second down 10. Forte looking for somewhere to go, and Seattle stops him. The biggest play in this game for Chicago on offense was a 58-yard pass interference penalty. In fact, that's the lengthiest pass interference or lengthiest penalty in terms of yardage since 1998. This Seattle defense has done a good job, and now they have a chance to come after Cutler on 3rd and 11.
Yeah, and this is one of those, even though it's a long yardage situation, Chicago is yet to convert on a 3rd down. They're 0 for 6. Let's see if they can convert one here.
With 4 wide receivers in the game. Seattle sends extra pressure, and Cutler is going to go down at midfield. Boyer Malloy, you talked about playing more of a linebacker than a safety, was in on the stop.
Yeah, I want you to watch one more time here. Off the edges here. They open up both edges. No tight end presence. This is very tough for a tackle. I realize you're in 4 wide. You want to get that athleticism on the field, but that's a awfully short angle for a defender. And when you got a Jamarcus Webb, young rookie out of West Texas A&M, which I've never heard of, that's awful tough for a big athlete like that to hold out a defender with no edge help whatsoever.
So the Bears missed a golden opportunity. And Golden Tate lost the football. Still lost it. He tried to gather it in, but let's see.
That ball's changing possessions about 3 or 4 times there.
The Seahawks somehow hold on.
Dodged a bullet there.
That would have been one of those takeaways that the Bears would have loved to have had. So the 19th career sack for Lawyer Malloy. Seattle in the tall grass of its own end zone, leading 16-13. First down for the 7. Marshawn Lynch, the running back for Hasselbeck. Pass complete to Mike Williams, and with Marshawn Lynch acquired during the bye week, he has been the starter today and carried the workload, the power runner for this Seattle offense. 10 carries, 32 yards. Justin Forsett, a one-time teammate of his at Cal and still good buddies, moved to the third down back, and it's created a nice 1-2 punch for a Seattle offense that is delivering blows to the Bears today. Lynch. It'll be third down. Forsett had a touchdown run for the Seahawks today as we compare the numbers.
And this has created a personality. We started this broadcast, Chris, talking about that Seattle really is trying to find a personality, and this 1-2 punch could be just the ticket they're looking for. This is a nice combination for them. And
Forsett lobbied, even though he knew it would cost him playing time, the Seahawks to get Marshawn Lynch, and he's in now on 3rd and 2. Fourth down.
Good stop for the Bears. Anytime you can get the quarterback to have to hold, it makes him nervous. You could tell he was looking for anywhere to drop the ball off. They're lucky that thing wasn't intercepted. Matt Hasselbeck started out with a little bit of a rhythm in the first half. They don't seem to have it in the passing game right now.
Thank goodness he didn't try the shovel pass. Ryan punting from his goal line. In the sun, Hester has it and brought down right away. But the good news for the Bears is they will start in Seattle territory, trailing by 3. Before we kicked off today, we talked about the headliners in the return game, but Brian, I guess the kick coverage teams were well aware, and they have held these guys in check.
And they've done a nice job kicking away from these guys, making them have to work all that much harder for it.
Devin Hester in at receiver. Came in with 11 catches for Jay Cutler so far this year, and does not have a catch today. Cutler is going to keep, and what a move to get a first down.
And you commented on it earlier, Chris, that he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. It's not like he's a runaround guy, but he's had to do a lot of this given some of the protection concerns. See a nice job. Devin Hester coming in here late. He's going to light up one of these Seattle defenders here. You got to be very careful with that. That was almost from behind.
And if you're charting Mike Martz's play calling here, 24 pass, 11 rush, and that one which started out as a pass but turned into a run. Hester in the backfield. Cutler goes the other way to Chester Taylor. Good tackle at the 30. And Marcus Trufant from his corner position makes the stop.
Chester Taylor came to them in the offseason, really one of the best third down backs in the league. Been a little bit of the forgotten man because Matt Forte has played so well up to this point on first, second, and third down.
And became the short yardage back after a big game last week against Carolina. You touched on the rushing yards, their best rushing total last week, over 200 yards, the best for the Bears in some 20 years. Here, second down, 6. Taylor stays in. Pressure coming, Cutler throwing, and incomplete. Intended for Johnny Knox.
Looked like Cutler expected Knox to break that off a little quicker. He shortened his drop, had to re-pull the ball down to get it back out. That's just a miscommunication between he and Knox. Here it is. He's just breaking it off hard to the inside. Looks like he expected the ball, or I should say Cutler expected to come out of it a little bit quicker.
Bears 0 for 7 on third down. They're already in field goal range. For Robbie Gould, it would be about a 47-yarder. They need 6. A lot of pointing going on pre-snap. And Cutler goes down as Lawyer Malloy got there in a hurry.
Wow. Just about to say, the one thing you can't do in this situation is take a sack, because you're right on the edge of field goal. All right, coming off this side back into here. Again, they're coming off that side, the short side where the tackle has no presence. The tackle again comes down, ignores the safety. That's twice now they've brought a secondary man from the outside that the tackle hasn't accounted for, and now it's taken him out of scoring position.
5th sack of the game for Jay Cutler, who's coming off a week off and a concussion. Golden Tate, who fumbled last time and recovered his own fumble, sure-handed here. Seattle with a 16-13 lead has the football.
Again, this is what I keep talking about. Right here, you can't see the secondary man. Yep, now you're going to see him from here. Look at the edge. Watch this tackle. Watch where his vision goes. For some reason, he's not continuing to the outside. He's following the defensive end that loops down inside. The way the line is turning, he should have stayed to the outside. They've gotten it on him twice.
And that tackle is 7th-round draft pick Jamarcus Webb, the rookie. Seattle has Russell Okung, their rookie, lining up against Peppers on first down, and Lynch is in trouble, but he's done a good job of getting out of trouble spots today. Let's get a game break. Go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Maybe more controversy for Andy Reid at quarterback. Kevin Cobb has looked brilliant today against the Falcons, hooking up with Jeremy Maclin for an 83-yard touchdown. Second score for Maclin. Third touchdown pass for Cobb. He's 18 of 23 and 257 yards, and his team's up by 18 in the third quarter. Chris and Brian.
Thanks, Kurt. Big day in Philadelphia. The Phillies playing later tonight on Fox, Game 2 of the NLCS. Hasselbeck, complete to Mike Williams. Charles Tillman covering, and Williams is having a big day. His 8th catch of the afternoon.
I tell you what, on this left side, Russell Okung doing a great job one-on-one. He's getting no help on Julius Peppers, and he's doing a heck of a job. Matt Hasselbeck stepping up. This is outstanding. No chip help, no tight end presence. Young man has grown up real quick against one of the best in the league.
Wyatt was drafted in the opening round, an ankle injury, got in against St. Louis, done the bye week, so he'd be ready today. For Williams again. For a guy so big, how does Chicago not notice him?
Well, and they're dialing up just right. They brought a free safety blitz off the weak side that removes the potential of any underneath coverage. Matt Hasselbeck is feeling it now with his big receiver Williams. Obviously a big day for him. This guy was a talented guy coming out, kind of lost his way after going to Detroit. Maybe got a little bit ahead of himself. Pete Carroll fired up about his young USC Trojan getting back into the league and helping this team.
Williams lost a lot of weight on a personal mission to make it in the NFL. For Golden Tate, it was in his hands, but Tillman did a nice job of knocking it out of there.
It did, and Golden Tate is still a young man that's learning what it is to play in this league. He doesn't necessarily have the size at 5'10" to match up here. This is the kind of throw you'd really rather have with the Mike Williams. He's so big, makes it very difficult for the DB to climb a big body like that.
Williams, watch where he lines up, not in on this particular play, as Forsett is in the backfield. And gets the carry, slips through, out of the 44-yard line of Chicago. Justin Forsett had a touchdown run He has 7 carries today, 12 for Marshawn Lynch.
And they tend to have him when they're in the single back, in their 3-wide package, just what we said. Spread it out. Don't put a body in front of this guy. Make it as simple as you can in terms of where he wants to go. Put the big fullback or a tight end in front of Marshawn Lynch for the more physical running style.
Seems like Seattle has lived at this part of the field on 3rd and 4. He's got Deion Butler for a first down. Deion Butler had a touchdown catch in the first half from Matt Hasselbeck. Keeps the ball in the hands of the Seattle offense.
And what you see here, this is that typical bunch combination in here with the receiver displaced. They're looking for different action, crossing actions. He comes in to build this 3-man bunch, and now you just get all the attention with the guys clearing out with Stokely and the tight end. Now he slips back outside.
15-yard pickup. Julius Peppers had been out the last couple of plays, catching his breath. Back in here as Lynch takes the Hasselbeck throw and moves inside the 25.
I want to point something out to you, Chris, here. Brian Urlacher talked about how he's changed his stance. I want you to watch how wide he is here and watch his first step. He's stepping lateral. He's talked about now that he's come back, he's fresher. He's narrowed his stance. It allows him to be aggressive, more downhill, more compact, a much more aggressive first step. He attributes this as to why he's having such a good start to his season.
And interesting, from 2 years ago, that stance adjusted as Forsett slips up the middle. And Seattle with an impressive drive here to close out the 3rd quarter. Nursing a 3-point lead on the road. And the fans are getting frustrated here at Soldier Field.
Well, this 1-2 punch of Lynch and Forsett is really proven to be just what Seattle needed.
Zach Bowman, the corner who started today behind Tim Jennings, is headed to the locker room. We have Carissa Thompson down on the field to check on that. And they're going to let the clock run out. The Seahawks trying to win their first game of the year. Pete Carroll's team leading 16-13 in Chicago. Fox NFL Sunday continues after this word from your local Fox station. In the 3rd quarter, opened up their lead to 3. They played turnover-free football. Forsett. 23rd snap in Chicago territory today, so it's been played at Chicago's end of the field, winning the battle of field position against Urlacher and the Bears defense.
Well, that little trap was the same play they scored on a 3rd and 8. Gave it another shot, see if they could loosen this Chicago Bear defense up a little bit.
And Forsett remains in on 2nd down. Hasselbeck. End zone. Did Williams hang on to that? Yes, he did, but not in the end zone, according to the official. He caught it and rolled over, but they're going to down him inside the 1. That's the 10th catch of this game for Mike Williams, a career-high number of catches and yards.
Great catch by Williams and great throw by Hasselbeck. Can you imagine that this guy found this earlier in Detroit with Calvin Johnson? What a 1-2 combination that would have been. But now he's finding it in Seattle, and I know Matt Hasselbeck's glad it didn't work out earlier.
And it's a 1st and goal. Marshawn Lynch is in. Marshawn Lynch gets his first touchdown as a member of the Seahawks, fighting into the end zone.
That's all Marshawn Lynch. Wow, what a run. What a run. He had 2 and 3 guys that had shot. I prefer to think this is good running by Marshawn Lynch as opposed to bad blocking. You're just going to see him come off the edge here. Look at this. 1 shot, 2 shots. The 3rd shot. That's just Marshall. That's just a great run. That's exactly what Pete Carroll envisioned when they got this guy.
And that was Harris, who he slipped through, one of the hardest hitters in the NFL. So with this extra point, it's a 10-point Seattle Seahawk lead here in the 4th quarter at Soldier Field.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. By Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty. And by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
So with the first touchdown from Marshawn Lynch as a member of the Seattle Seahawks, along with Justin Forsett. Mike Williams key in that drive. Time-consuming 92 yards to build a 10-point lead against the hometown Bears. And Hasselbeck has been the perfect engineer for the Seattle offense today. Alindo Mare and Daniel Manning. And watch out, because penalty flag. There's a flag down inside the 20. Manning has a touchdown, but let's check the flag.
Yeah,
Holding number 58 after distance of the goal. First down.
Yeah, you talk about taking the starch out of the stadium. They're hooping and hollering, and you got a hold here.
Rod Wilson is called for the penalty. Do you see it, Coach?
Well, not really, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, I'm sure it would have been an 89-yard return. But it's coming back.
Well, and that's part of the challenge now. You get the euphoria of the big play. Maybe now you've got to come back and respond to it.
Maybe they gave the number.
Wherever they called it. They may have had the wrong number. Doesn't matter. It's a hold either way.
May have been on 50.
Either way, it's coming back. And that's the challenge now for Chicago. They're in the shadow of their own goal line. Seattle has just shoved it down your throat. We talked about the run-pass ratio. Well, I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot of runs. Still 13 minutes in the game. You're talking about the second worst pass defense in the league, but they know Chicago's going to throw the ball, and that makes a difference.
Bears have 2 timeouts. We got plenty of time, but they need points. And Cutler knows it. To Knox. He makes a nice catch coming back to the football.
And this is where you've got to be careful if you're Chicago. This is where you got to try to keep some semblance of balance. This offensive line, we talked about it the whole day. Shuffle around. Yeah, it's great to shift in motion and put a bunch of 4 wides in and open it up, but you're putting a lot of pressure on these young tackles. Mike Martz knows that. He knows he's got to protect his quarterback, but he's got to do what he thinks is best to move the ball down the field. They've got to come up with 2 scores now with a 10-point differential.
And they're going to have to use another timeout. So Chicago will have only 1 remaining, trailing by 10. Chicago forced to burn a timeout earlier than they would like, trailing 23-13. A major penalty wiped out a kickoff return of Daniel Manning for a touchdown, and the quarterback comparison.
Well, this is here because they've been able to run the ball. Here, all they're trying to do is pass, puts a lot of burden on that quarterback.
Forte is in on 1st and 10. And the interception is made by Marcus Trufant on the sideline if he stayed in bounds. He caught the football.
He sees it right here. He's one-on-one with the running back. He steps right in front of it. Ah, boy, they got to review this. It looks like his elbows would have put him down. Did he maintain control? That's what needs to be discussed. They're saying no.
And no challenge.
Seattle was right on top of it, so they obviously saw it the same way.
2nd down 10. To Forte. They're going to be short. It'll be 3rd down.
Boy, there again, yeah, you need to come over and help him up, son, because somebody has to turn back out to the wide rush back into here. Here you can see coming off this edge, the linebacker comes inside. The guard goes down. The tackle's in a tough spot there. They're turning the line the wrong way. Seattle's betting the ball is going to come out quick because they're a man short in protection. Puts them down to 3rd down.
Raheem Brock delivering the hit. Cutler has been sacked 5 times and hit for another 8 or 9. 3rd down, and again, Chicago misfires. Intended for Devin Aromashadu. And that was Walter Thurman, who came into the game when Kelly Jennings left with a hamstring.
I just think you're asking a lot of a displaced young offensive line. In the way the game is unfolded, that's something I'm sure that they'll look at going forward. And now we're down to under 12. We'll see how long Seattle holds on to the ball. But it's going to do but nothing get worse. So they're going to have to throw. They're going to see a lot of pressure. It's going to be tough for this offensive line of the Bears.
Ball goes out of bounds. And that offensive line of the Bears taking a beating today.
Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty.
An upset in the making, and Seattle's defense called by Gus Bradley.
Say, you're doing good. You're doing good. No, you're all doing good.
Having a lot to do with that.
Yeah, they're feeling good right now. They got to finish this off, but they can be proud of what they've done so far.
Who would have thought here in the fourth quarter that it would be the Seahawks up by 10, and they have dominated. Hasselbeck is throwing, and Mike Williams a drop. But what a day he's had. Look at the turnaround. We saw that Seattle defense moments ago. What Chicago has allowed versus what they did against the Carolina Panthers.
Well, it's the balance of that Seattle offense, both run and throw. Marshawn Lynch getting the desired effect on this personality of this team that we talked about.
Yeah, you're talking about, Sybil and Sally Field and the true identity. The Seahawks are showing us who they really are. Williams, and it's incomplete.
Well, this could be an important 3-and-out for Chicago. If they can force a quick 3rd-and-out here, this is a 3rd and long. If they can do that, they can regain maybe some of the emotional, because right now it's all going the way of the Seahawks.
Yeah, and Tim Jennings, who made that play, got the start. Zach Bowman, who we showed you leaving moments ago, questionable with a foot injury. 3rd and 10. Set close to another Seattle first down, but it looks like,
well, let's see where they spot it. The way they're walking in, this may bring about a measurement. I thought he was short and kind of bounced his way in, but where they're going to measure this thing.
He is only 5'8". But this is, this is if Chicago gets the ball back here.
I think they're short, but boy, that's pushing the edge here. They're going to measure this thing. Again, the chains are down here on the bottom in terms of, and a lot of people don't realize that they've got to bring that all the way across the field as they're doing here. This is going to be close. I think it's a little short.
The official on the Chicago side of the field ran showing no first down. Our line is not official. It just gives you a gauge, and
yeah,
that is official. It's short.
Boy, that was awful close.
And that's this could be a major moment in this game.
They're not gonna go for this. I know Pete Carroll is enthusiastic, but he'd have a schizophrenic personality if he went for it here.
He certainly.
This night, they're looking down the field. It's not going to happen. So often on 3rd and long, you got to throw the ball underneath, hope somebody can make a play. And the explosion of Forsett, he almost pulls this off. If he'd have been 5'9", this would have been a first down.
You're probably right. So they're punting. By major moment, I mean that the Bears defense got the stop.
They did. And we said it doesn't matter whether you stop him by an inch or by 10 yards. You stopped him. Now the Chicago offense has got to take advantage of this, getting the ball back.
And the crowd has been nudged here at Soldier Field.
Good kick.
And all day, whether it's punting, kickoffs, they have been excellent. So Chicago starts at a hole, trailing by 10. Here in Chicago, an excellent punt by John Ryan. The special teams puts Cutler and the Bears at their own 8-yard line. And Chester Taylor is in on 1st and 10. And they run to Taylor, who falls forward. They ran 7 times in the opening quarter. That was the 6th run since. But now they have to throw.
Yeah, and in doing so, they've got to be a little creative with their protection scheme in terms of helping the tackles, change the position of the tight end from one side to the other, help with the back, because you don't want to open up the edges and put these tackles on an island repeatedly. You got to do it a couple times, but you can't do it consistently.
Pressure's coming. Cutler gets rid of it quickly and completes. And Hester near the first down marker. You explained the offensive line and all the adjustments earlier, and they've had a rough day.
Yeah, you know, you look at that and it looks like I'm trying to get off the 405 onto the 5 and some bad directions in LA. But and these are young guys over here. And they're being put in a tough position. The other guy's out of position. Chris Williams is a tackle, now playing guard. This is a tough combination. This is tough on an offensive line, what they're facing right now if you've been together a long time. But if you're in a lot of new positions with young players, it's a teaching moment. Let's call it that.
You can map West to first down. They got that. Cutler just kind of got rid of it. Knox was in the neighborhood. Cutler's been sacked 5 times today. That was his 28th pass attempt. He's completed 12. You can go to NFL.com's Game Center for Week 6 live game stats, fan discussion, in-game video highlights, and a lot more. Follow all the action at NFL.com/scores. Well, the Bears scored first, but after that, Seattle tied it, took control of the game, and they haven't let go. 9:33 to play on 2nd and 10. He is going deep, and there's nothing there. 2 defenders had it covered for Johnny Knox. It'll be 3rd down.
Nice job in protection there by Chester Taylor on Lawyer Malloy. Lawyer Malloy in here. They knew he was going to be down in the front all day long. The tackle now does open up, and you see right here Chester Taylor squaring up. Good young, no, you're not a young back anymore. He was young when I drafted him in Baltimore. He's an excellent 3rd down back, not just because he can catch the ball, because he is a good pass protector as well.
And I know I sound like one of those parakeets that keeps repeating itself. 0 for 9 on 3rd down. They were the worst in the league in that department coming in, and here's another 3rd down. And Earl Bennett makes the catch.
Short. I think he's short. Do you have a parakeet?
No, the seeds get all over the place.
Okay, yeah, this is short. Now they're 0 for 10. Like we said earlier for Chicago, doesn't matter whether it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 4th and inches. If you can get them off the field after 3 downs, this is a win for Seattle.
Brian, listen to this crowd. They're frustrated. Yeah. And how did Pete Carroll and his team has taken away whatever home field advantage Chicago had.
They have made this home their home right now, like Lawyer Malloy said, coming out in the game.
Frustrating day on offense continues for the Bears, and Golden Tate hauls it in and slips a tackle or 2 to get a couple of yards, tough yards, where Seattle takes over on offense. And if the Seahawks could hold on today, the Rams were winning. Arizona is idle, so you'd have 3 teams tied atop the NFC West.
Yeah, you got the coming home. We're going to do that game next week at Arizona at Seattle. Oakland, see how they do today. They get Arizona twice, actually, the Giants and New Orleans. So not easy for Seattle, but a lot of it within the division. This stacks up pretty good. I'm sure they'll be glad to go home next weekend to face the divisional foe, Arizona Cardinals.
And when the year started, a lot of people were on the 49er bandwagon. They've yet to win, even though their front office thinks they can turn it around. They're at the bottom of the division, and the Seahawks are up at the top.
Well, Pete Carroll knows he can build on this, because that's what he's about right now. He's new to this team. He's trying to set up a mentality here. It's anybody's ball game sitting here with Arizona at 3-2. They've got to bye. Seattle will, if they hold on to this, go to 3-2. This is, 8-8 may win the NFC West. Well, who cares? You can make all the comment you want. I win the division. I get to go to the playoffs and we'll see what happens. Pete Carroll knows he can build on this if they can hold on to this.
So Seattle leading. You saw the Rams leading by 10 with about 3.5 to go in the 4th quarter there. Marshawn Lynch, this is where you hope he can pound the rock and wear down the clock. And he's wearing down the Bears. Good first down pickup. Now for Chicago, there were skeptics. They've won games close in a lot of different ways. They'll have the Redskins coming up, and then they go on the road. It gets tough after that.
Yeah,
tougher.
you know, Buffalo just is not a very good team. What are you going to say? But these next 3 in here, Minnesota, Miami, and Philadelphia, that's going to be a challenge, and it gets even tougher after that for Chicago.
Bears came in with the best record in the NFC along with Atlanta. The Falcons are losing. Over in the AFC have the Ravens and Jets, who entered the day at 4-1. Lynch carries again. Let's get a game break. See what Kurt Menefee is keeping an eye on for us now. Kurt?
If there's any good news in the North for the Bears, is that the Packers are losing right now as well against Miami. That's Anthony Fasano with a 22-yard touchdown reception from Chad Henne. And the Dolphins are up by a touchdown late in the fourth quarter at Lambeau. Chris and Brian.
Thanks, Kurt. Kurt showed you earlier Aaron Rodgers playing in that game despite being shaken up during the week. What a game Chad Henne is having for Miami on the road. A 3rd and 5. This Bear defense needs to make a play. Hasselback incomplete. There was good pressure, and Tino Isamoa, good coverage as the ball went through the hands of Forsett.
Well, they did a great job of position punting this last time to pin Chicago down inside their 10. He needs another one here. Do not kick it to that man, Devin Hester, because he can change a game as quickly as anybody in the league.
We saw that with Green Bay, a game when the special teams of the Bears also had a blocked kick. And this bounces, and that was one that Hester, I don't know if he lost it. The sun is the other way. On the line, you'd figure he'd grab that and take off.
Well, if you love a challenge, here you go, Chicago. We're going to back you up. We're going to let you go 99 yards. Okay, we're going to see what you're made of. That's a heck of a kick. You know, typically you don't want to field it when you're standing inside the 10. He was probably afraid to step up and field it. I don't know. Nice job. Great job of position kicking away from these dangerous return people on both sides of the ball.
You saw Kurt Menefee with the update. Green Bay trailing the standings in the NFC North, and the Bears were the leaders coming in all by themselves. Minnesota plays later in America's Game of the Week on Fox at home against the Cowboys, trying to dig out of a 1-3 hole. The Bears from the 1-yard line. Pass complete.
All right, who did he complete it to?
That's Brandon Manu Maliuna.
Very good. I messed it up the first time, but that's probably the one catch you'll have all year long, which is why it was a surprise to Seattle. But it punched a nice little hole, gives you a little bit of breathing room. Beyond the fact of the yardage, you're looking here, Jay Cutler, that's uncomfortable throwing when you're standing in your own end zone.
And he'd like some more breathing room in the division, which is why Chicago, a home game they thought they should win, needs to try and rally here. 2nd and 5. Pass complete for a first down. That's Earl Bennett. And he gets out of bounds to stop the clock. You're really in that kind of a mode here with 2 scores. You got to think you have 1 timeout. You got the clock is your enemy as well.
And you don't need to know huddle here, but you need to have a little tempo about you in and out of the huddle. And Jay Cutler's trying to get that because the clock is becoming a factor, even if you can drive the length of the field for a score.
Cutler has time, and Knox was going the other way on the break. Incomplete.
Well, you hear it all the time and about a Mike Martz offense. It's all about timing. It's all about trust. Receivers where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And Jay Cutler expected him to come out of that break much earlier.
What did Mike tell you about the quarterback being maybe just a step off? And he said that most of my quarterbacks are.
He says Wednesday, but you're getting a new game plan, so everybody's off. The timing's off. He says he was sharp and looking good on Thursday and Friday.
And Cutler told us Friday after practice, again, he thought it was the best week of practice all year. Everybody knowing where they're supposed to be on this offensive unit. Defender fell down, and the catch was made by Knox. It was Trufant who slipped trying to stay with Johnny. A first down pickup.
Nice job stepping up in the pocket by Cutler. Good protection around him. And delivering the ball. Just this you can see here, just the guy stumbles down, going past it. Really could not that it would have made a difference. Nice job throwing to the outside. Nice safe throw.
So out of the hole to the 31-yard line of Chicago. Pressure coming. 6th sack of the game for Seattle. And Jordan Babineau, it's been between him and Lawyer Malloy. The heat from the safety spot has been tough on Cutler.
Yeah, and whether it's the DB that actually gets them or whether it gobbles it up protection, you're going to see it coming up from up in here. He's going to come from the outside. He either draws the protection and allows someone inside, or here again, the tackle steps down, does not turn out to a count. We've seen it 3, 4, 5 times now. They're just not handling this DB pressure off the edge.
Now it looks like Seattle is going to drop defenders into coverage on 2nd and 16. Cutler's pass for Bennett is incomplete. And now it's going to be 3rd down, and we know, I can hear the parakeet, how Chicago has struggled on 3rd down. At what point do you get to a hurry up if you're Jay Cutler or Mike Martz?
Well, we're closing in on it. If they could have maintained this, but at 5 minutes here, if you get a 1st down, and this is a tall order at 3rd and a ton.
16.
Yeah, you got to think about going no huddle now, because the one score is not going to do it for you.
Devin Hester comes out to the left side. Pass is complete right at the 1st down mark.
No, he had to come back. He had to come back to get it. They clearly have to go for it here. This one you want to make a huddle call. You don't want to know. I don't care how much time it takes. You need an orchestrated call.
And you have only one timeout.
And they're rolling on some bigger people. They're going to make an orchestrated call here. And then when you come out of it, you got to get the other personnel in to now go into the no huddle.
Game clock running here. It's under 15 now.
You're going to have to hustle to get this thing off. They're going to have to burn this last timeout.
They've already been sloppy with the timeouts and have not done a good job of saving those, so they're out. That's Seattle's timeout. We're going to find out who called the time here, because on 4th and 1, it was Seattle, the Seahawks.
Okay, well, they bought one then.
My correction there.
But this is important for Seattle, too.
Chicago, the way Jay Cutler shook his head.
Well, Chicago ran on some different personnel. Seattle's got to get matched up here because they were obviously in 3 wides. They want to get their nickel people off Pete Carroll, but down this road before. This isn't his first rodeo. He knows what a stop is here. They get into a 4-minute mentality, close to scoring position. This is a big play.
We know the Bears are 0 for 11 on 3rd down in this game, but this year they are 1 out of 4 on 4th down, and so they need a yard here, trailing by 10. Chester Taylor is the back. And he got it. He got a lot more. Chester Taylor to the 35 of Seattle.
Boy, how often do you see this on a short yardage? Everybody's up there. They want to get the stop. You got a whole bunch of bodies up in here, and now you get the downside to that is if you can get past that first level, that means there's a whole bunch of bodies behind you.
Bears still do have the 1 timeout, and they'll have the 2-minute warning. Cutler's pass incomplete, and it looked like Lawyer Malloy ran up the back of the receiver, but there is no flag.
No, the DB has the right to the ball as well. He timed that perfectly. They're lucky this wasn't an interception. You can see he's just coming in from the outside right here. And they're booing. He has a right to go to the ball, too. He has as much right to that space as does the receiver.
15-year veteran having a terrific game for Pete Carroll and the Seahawks defense today. Cutler for Aroma should do an overthrow. Let's check in for another game break. Looking ahead to America's game of the week later. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee.
And a reminder that when you guys are done, Randy Moss and the Vikings, desperate for a win, will host a desperate Dallas Cowboys team. Each team coming in at 1-3 and need to win to have any chance of keeping postseason hopes alive. That's coming up just when you guys are done there at Soldier Field. Chris and Brian.
As for both teams, Randy Moss going to have a big day today. Now for Chicago, this is 2-down territory. You make your calls realizing you're going to go for it on 4th down. So it doesn't mean you have to get the full distance with just this one play.
And you could also settle for 3 if you want to try the onside kick. You need 2 scores, and the ball's batted in the air. And that almost was intercepted. Excellent pressure. Raheem Brock is the guy who tipped Cutler's pass.
This changes the equation now because clearly you need a first down. You're not going to get a chance.
They're going to try a long field goal. And no.
Oh boy, no. Are they really?
Robbie Gould is out there. Last week he kicked his career long, a 53-yarder, in a win that the Bears dominated against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, this is outside the edge of anybody short of Ray
This will be 54.
Very short.
Not good. The emotional and energetic Pete Carroll. That's real. That's how he always is. In fact, Leon Washington said, I haven't seen him not smile yet this year.
Yeah, never down at practice. He's fired up now, but they got something to finish off here. But now we talk about their personality. I made fun of the Sybil-like and Sally Fields. We don't need Sally Fields right now. They got Marshawn Lynch. They got a big fullback. This is pound away. This is part of now having a big back like Marshawn Lynch that allows you to finish off a game inside a four-minute offense.
You didn't like the decision of Lovie Smith there to go on 4th and 10 for the long field goal?
Well, if you have faith, that's to having a lot of faith in your field goal.
Ball is fumbled.
Oh, baby.
Snap, and the Bears have it. Coming out of there holding the football.
No, unbelievable. They're going to procedure penalty, dead ball foul.
Start. Left guard.
Bails the Seahawks.
How about that? That's one of those inequities in the system where a mistake on your part saves the day for you. It becomes a dead ball foul because technically the snap does not happen because the foul happened, the procedure penalty happened before the snap.
And Ben Hamilton, that's one penalty they probably won't scold him for in the team meetings.
Yeah.
Seahawks keep the football. They're backed up 5 yards.
You pound away at this a little bit.
And Lovie Smith, whose teams have lived on takeaways, do not have one today.
Covered up.
Lynch carries. Saw Tillman reaching in there, trying to pull the ball out.
Now, if you're going to throw the ball, and I don't suggest you do here, this is the down that you need to do it on because the Bears got to figure you're going to run the ball. You don't want to stop the clock. Throwing it on 3rd down is problematic at best. So if you are of a mind to throw it here. But I doubt that that's going to happen. I think you're going to see another run. Have I covered all the options there?
I think you did. And
I got the answer for about everything right now. Oh, yeah, I told you they were going to do this.
You're good with a 10-point lead in the football.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, my play card's full with that lead.
And with Marshawn Lynch in, and that combination of Forsett and Lynch has added a whole new dimension to the Seattle offense. Brian Elu made the stop, and maybe not having Lance Briggs, but I don't know where the Bears defense has an excuse against Seattle, despite they knew Marshawn Lynch was joining the team. Maybe they just didn't know how he'd be used.
Well, great numbers. You look at Matt Hasselbeck, and for no small reason, look at this now. Combination, and you look at it as a combination with those two. You know, we're used to seeing one guy, he's the lead guy, 350-plus carries, but the combination of Forsett and Marshawn Lynch, you have a 100-yard rusher. Doesn't matter that it's two guys. And then a big game by Michael Williams. Obviously, with the running game going, being able to take advantage of the one-on-one coverage because Chicago's had to drop down that proverbial 8th man in the box all day because of the way you're running the ball.
And the Bears, Brian, used their last timeout. Again, we'll have the 2-minute warning, but it is a 3rd and 14. So if they can at least get a stop, they'll have a chance to get a score.
You may see pressure here by the Bears. Doesn't look like it, but a lot of times you're forcing, here comes pressure, could make you drop the ball off quick.
They're going to hand it off to Forsett, and Seattle will be forced to punt, but they'll milk that clock for all they can.
And why take the chance? Good play called by the offensive coordinator, Jeremy Bates. And right now it's all falling clearly on the Chicago offense. Same thing. They haven't kicked to Hester all day. I don't imagine they're going to do it here.
Well, they had an opportunity, we thought, on the last one, but whether they've kicked away, some have been high, some have dropped in front of them.
Yeah, that was just maybe a mistake on Hester's part, but I wouldn't give him that same opportunity. I'd be angling it outside the numbers clearly on this one.
And Ryan has showed that he can handle that.
I don't care if it goes out of bounds.
A high kick. And Hester will grab at his 11th. And Devin Hester is trotting it to the outside. A block from Earl Bennett. No flags. Touchdown, Devin Hester.
Well, the crowd came back into the stadium.
89-yard return.
And then, well, you got to kick outside of the numbers. You got to reduce the field. You can't kick the ball to Devin Hester. Cut the field down. Nice job. Look at all pinned into one side. And it looks like that's where he was trying to go. Great block back by Barnett. Boy, I tell you what, the one thing that was going to allow them to get back into the game was letting Devin Hester get his hands on the ball.
Ask the Packers about that. And John Ryan, the punter, is still down from the Earl Bennett block. We certainly hope that he is okay. And
yeah, watch right here. He's trying to do the right thing, but Earl Bennett coming in, he doesn't see him. That's a clean shot, but oh boy, that depleted him. That one hurt.
So Ryan is down. The Bears are down but not out. An 89-yard return. In fact, it was an 89-yard kickoff return that was called back on a penalty. And the Bears have only had 2 penalties, but you can only bottle up Devin Hester for so long. And he ties an NFL record with that punt return for a score.
There again, position punting. They've done it well all day long, but all you need is the one shot.
You were clear that he should not kick it to him. And that record is for total touchdowns as Devin Hester does the job. Let's check in for a game break with Kurt Menefee.
Bears coming back. Packers coming back. 4th and goal. 16 seconds left. Quarterback sneak by Aaron Rodgers for the touchdown. Ties it, and they are going to overtime. All even with Miami at 20 apiece. Chris and Brian.
We might be looking at overtime here.
Well, fortunately, the young man's getting probably his pride hurt more than anything else. But now, obviously, they're going to kick the extra point. You have to go onside kick. People say, well, do you rely on your defense? We're under 2 minutes. All right, with no timeouts on the board, and that's the key thing here. With no timeouts on the board, the game's over. Because if Seattle gets the ball, they can simply finish it out, take a knee. So we're about ready for an onside kick here.
And after this extra point, we'll get the official 2-minute warning because the return for the touchdown happened during the clock as Devin Hester has brought the Bears within 3. It was a punt return here, but combined with kickoff returns, Hester equals Brian Mitchell for the most all-time touchdown returns in NFL history.
Now on the sideline, Pete Carroll, some teams will call timeout here once you see the configuration. He's going to look up here with his special teams coach. It doesn't look like he's going to call it, but sometimes you let them set themselves to see how they're configuring. You're seeing all these folks over here. The league has limited how many you can have to one side. It's not the blow-up we used to have. So now you can go one side or the other, or you can dribble it right in front of yourself.
Must travel 10 yards unless a Seattle player touches it first. And the ball just to create a little more drama here. You saw the percentage is not favorable, especially when you expect the onside kick.
Now on the sideline now here, I'm not so sure you don't use a timeout. You see the configuration of Chicago. You know exactly how they're going to approach it. Gould's going to the one side. I maybe call timeout and explain to my guys, you can see how this is balanced up. You got 4 guys over here. You've got the kicker, all right? That gives you the 5. Now you can put everybody else, and there's only so many that you can put to one side. Remember in the old days, we used to just line everybody up on one side. It was a mass blow-up, but that put the players at risk. So now the rules say that you have to have a balanced account. You can't overload and put everybody onto one side. You have to have a minimum of 4 guys opposite of the kicker.
Now there are rules that if the ball continues to fall, you have to have a holder. This would hurt. This gives you less of a
gives
player.
You fewer options. Now this almost eliminates you coming back to the left side here. Although the way Robbie Gould is aligning, for sure I would say they're not going to come back there anyway. I'm not sure I don't call timeout if I'm not Seattle to make sure my guys are configured the way I want and understand what the options are.
And that's Maynard, the punter, out there who is normally the holder anyway, to help. In the air, Seahawks have it. A clean grasp for Pete Carroll's team by the tight end, John Carlson.
Nice job by Seattle, because here's what you do with your front line guys. You're there to block, believe it or not. You're to take out everybody you can that could come in here and strip this thing. I want you to watch them know. See, they turn into blockers. Don't give anybody a free run. Let the guy behind us come up with the ball. Very well executed by Seattle.
Well, you talked about the different personalities, and Pete Carroll never one to hide his. Seattle will be a part of the top spot in the NFC West. The Bears will stay up there no matter what in their division. But a home game that they felt good about coming in, they won't feel good about this week.
No, and this is, like I said, this is a defining moment for Pete Carroll in his young tenure with the Seattle Seahawks. Winning on the road, he's telling his troops right here, guys, just believe me. I've been telling you all along, just believe me. Buy into it. They've got a sign at their practice that says, I'm in. And it's sophomoric, it may be college, collegial, whatever you want to call it, but everybody's required at practice to touch that sign just to say, I'm in, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, we're going to stay with this thing together, and it pays off with the win today.
And Jay Cutler frustrated. He was never in the groove today. Sacked 6 times. Not a lot of time to set up and throw the football. But the good news is the Bears are 4-2. So he'll hear more skeptics and Mike Martz and Lovie Smith. But I think the Bear defense has to take some of the responsibility today for this Bears loss.
They do, because this Seattle team came in and did some things that they have not done before. Their ability to run the ball was the key. But the lack of continuity of the offense has been the tough thing today for the Chicago Bears I'm talking about.
Marshawn Lynch, the new addition. Remember, Deion Branch traded back to New England. And from Buffalo comes Lynch and delivers as the Seahawks will go to 3-2. And again, tied for the top spot in the NFC West. And the Bears at 4-2. Depending upon what the Packers do against Miami and the Vikings playing late against Dallas in a game that you'll see on Fox. Pete Carroll back in the NFL and at home next week against the NFC West division rival Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I tell you what, this is a tough pill for Chicago. You sensed a confidence on their part. They knew how tough it was for Seattle on the road. They were very confident on their ability to run the ball. They really didn't try to establish that run today.
Do you think Chicago will rethink its offense and maybe commit back to the run a little bit more?
You know, you'd have thought that had done that after the win in Carolina. And listening to them on Friday, you kind of thought that's what they were going to do. We never saw it today. Never really any solid effort to try to run the ball.
Matt Hasselbeck, 25 out of 40. 242 yards and a touchdown. Seattle with an impressive win on the road in Chicago, beating the Bears 23-20. For Carissa Thompson, Brian Billick, I'm Chris Myers, Bob Stenner, and our director Rich Dewey, and Chuck McDonald. We thank you for being a part of the NFL on Fox, and stick around for plenty of action all day on Fox. Let's head to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.